Hey guys, Dick Smith here with Overland Evolution. Today we're going to be making some awning brackets out of these things I picked up from Ace. They're right around $9 a piece, extremely strong, pre-bent, pre-drilled. The holes line up with most of your standard awnings, and they're just very simple to use. It's better than spending 50, 60, 80 to 100 bucks on a set of pre-made brackets when it only takes a few minutes, one cut and a little bit of grinding, and you're done. Now, I've probably made 10, 15 sets of these brackets in the past, just because they're so cheap. So I already know what I'm going to measure to. Don't even need to actually measure it. Currently, I'm running on the third hole right here, but I'm going to be lowering the awning slightly, so I'm going to come down to this hole. Meaning, all I'm going to do is cut about a ½ inch above that hole and round things off. All right, now anytime you're grinding in your garage, you want to make sure you're being safe. Eye protection, hearing protection. And something a lot of people don't think about is your grinding sparks are really hot. They will screw up paint and they will actually melt right into your windshield. So make sure you cover your rig if you're all close like we are. All right, so next up, all you're gonna do, figure out exactly where you wanna cut, get out your grind wheel, inspect it, make sure your grind wheel is actually not all busted up, gonna be a hazard. Put my protection on, make a cut. From there, you shape it up, get off all your sharp edges. All right, so that took a few seconds, and we are to the point where technically this would be good enough. We have our bracket the size we want. Our sharpest edges are cleaned up. But from this point, I'm gonna use a hand file and just touch up those edges and make them a little bit smoother. There. One bracket done. Now the other two that I have at the 3-hole position, I'm gonna cut them down to a 2-hole position because we're bringing the awning down a little bit lower than we originally had it. All right, so that's better. All right, so we got our 3 brackets. Generally, I run 2 brackets. However, with the setup we're doing right now, it's actually a very short platform, and I still have an 8-foot awning. So I want to be able to get that center bracket in there just to take some of the vibration and flex out. Hopefully it won't work quite so bad. We'll see. All right, guys, so the way we're going to be using this, on the top of the ARE cap, I have a rhino rack platform, same size as the cap, that I adapted to the Yakima rails. Unfortunately, I never shot a video when I did that, and I should have, because they're not meant to go together, and it actually works out pretty well if you do a little bit of sanding and grinding. All right, so once we're up here, you can see where these are gonna line up. Now, I really like the track system that Rhino Rack uses. However, they are known, well, at least in my experience, they're known to break rather easily with heavier objects on top. Not the rack itself, but the thin area right here that supports everything. So generally what I do, I line everything up with the track, or at least on the underbars, and then I drill and bolt it. Goes the whole way through, everything is permanently secured. There's absolutely no way things are going to flex and crack and break the aluminum. So that's what we'll be doing next. Now, if you're gonna use this method, which I'm not saying I recommend it, and I'm definitely not saying it's the right way to do it, however, it works. If you are gonna use this method, you wanna make sure that the bar you're putting on top of their bar is directly dead center. The reason for that is, on the underside, you can put a fender washer up inside the rail, drill your hole directly down through. Now that's in the track underneath, and all you have to do is slide it to your hole, and everything will line up. Now the hole is drilled. I use these bolts from Ace that were already tapered. They drop right into the bracket nicely. That way I end up with a smooth edge. I put kayaks up on my rack a lot, and I don't want things sticking up that are basically going to gouge the bottom of the kayaks. So this works out really well. We're just going to line that up. Find that fender washer that we already have in the slot. Put that down through. Get that started. And now we're going to go back and snug that up with a ratchet. Once you have that first one in, continue with the other two the exact same way. Don't so much worry about the amount of slop you have in this. Once you get to the outer edge, you drill those holes and you bolt that in, you're going to take up all that play. Additionally, at that point, you can square everything up to make sure that you're square on the outside. Not so much your measured distance, that we want to keep straight the entire time. But as far as your right to left play, you want that to be totally square so the awning can sit flush. All right, guys, next step before you decide to drill your outer holes, grab a square. Rhino rack gives you a ton of straight edge lines here to follow. Just make sure your brackets are squared up. As long as your brackets are squared up and they're measured from end to end properly, you'll have a flat mounting surface for your awning. Once you have this hole drilled, go ahead and actually bolt this one in. Don't just work down the line making all your holes without bolting things in, because you want to have one central to work off of to make sure that everything is square from that point on. All right, once you get this first one on, you can check it, make sure everything is the way you want it before you proceed with the rest of them. But if you look right here, you'll see where instead of relying, as we fall off, instead of relying on plastic clips with one screw to hold our entire Rhino rack together, we now have our awning supported by 2 bolts, a steel bracket, and everything runs to the underside where we're supported by steel. Might not be as pretty as the actual plastic brackets that you can buy from them. They're much stronger and much cheaper. Not the prettiest thing, but highly functional. Next step will be mounting the awning, which you would normally just follow the directions from your awning manufacturer. Okay guys, so there we have it. All 3 brackets, everything secured, bolted down snug. You may be wondering why I have it so far out from the rack itself. As I mentioned before, we mount kayaks up on top of this rack. Also, I have an Oz tent that I throw up there, and I have swags that I throw up there. And I need the ability to get my hands through so that I can tie them down. If you aren't doing that, these brackets do allow you to move one hole in, which is roughly, I believe, 2.5 inches in, which would actually be a little bit stronger and would seal weather off better. But in all, it's turned out pretty good. All right, guys, if this was at all informative or you like just watching it purely for entertainment purposes, please like and subscribe. This was just a quick video. We're doing a Roush Creek run tomorrow. It's supposed to be 7 degrees out. I don't know if we're gonna be setting up the awning or not. However, I was putting it on today, so I figured I might as well get the camera out and just snap a few quick little videos for you. Like I said, if you like it, great. If not, hopefully you'll learn something from it. Either way, you guys have a good one.